Welcome to Framework and our ongoing coverage of Bioware games. It's time to start a new one in the Bioware Omnibus, and today we are discussing Dragon Age the VEILGUARD. Dragon Age 4 came out about a year ago, and we are just now getting around to it. I am one of the hosts of Framework. I am John, and with me as always the other host of Framework, Al. How you doing today, Al?
I'm all right. We're back in the world of Thedas, I suppose. I mean, sort of.
Feels like we never left.
Well, Inquisition, as we chronicled in those episodes, kind of broke me by the end of it. I had to take a break from this. And now that I'm back in this world, one of my gripes about the VEILGUARD is in the early going here, I don't necessarily feel like I'm in the same world as before. Mm-hmm. This feels a lot more sort of sci-fi flavored than high fantasy flavored.
Sci-fi. Interesting.
Well, not necessarily more than it used to, I should say.
Now, contextually, the original Dragon Age games came out within about a 6-year period, I believe it was. Origins, Dragon Age 2 followed in short order. A little while after that, Inquisition.
It was like a 3 or 4 year gap there. That at the time was considered kind of a big gap, I felt like.
Mm-hmm. Then it was 10 years. A 10-year wait until 2024 when this new game, Dragon Age the VEILGUARD, came out. Basically, nobody who worked on the original games working on this one. BioWare has completely turned over its staff at this point. They have gone from top of the world, essentially, where they were around then, making Mass Effect games, won Game of the Year with Inquisition for some ungodly reason. And now they have had a couple of high-profile flops, and they are kind of just hanging on for dear life, as most of the talent from the previous generations of games has moved elsewhere and is making other games at different studios. They are basically in brand extension EA, well, we have this, why don't we make a thing out of it mode. There's a lot of information about how this particular game got fucked with behind the scenes that has come out since. It is illuminating if you look at it. I don't think any of that's going to come into what we're talking about today, though, which will be...
It might. I have a lot of gripes about the opening hours of this game, and maybe if you know that backstory, it will inform it in some way, but you'll have to tell me because I haven't looked into it. Mm-hmm. Let me start right here. The first image I see when I press the new game button in this game is a goddamn floating castle on a levitating fucking rocks in the sky. I am so sick of floating rocks in fantasy settings to make things look, I don't know, magical or something. Outlandish. It's everywhere. It's every environment I've been to in this game so far has this. It's driving me progressively more and more insane.
And this comes from somebody who hasn't played the Dark Souls games, right?
Yes.
You haven't done Elden Ring, any of those. There is nothing but collapsing castles existing in a void and defying physics in those games. That's like bread and butter. You're going to get that 7 times in each of them, or 5 times as much in Elden Ring. It has been in many, many, many games in the 10 years since Inquisition came out. One of the most common sights you will ever see in a game, and Inquisition did it, and VEILGUARD leans right into it. We need a new design philosophy here. We need to find a new way to present these things visually.
Yeah, and in a way, I think it might be so much of this game taking place in the Fade or near the Fade or someplace that's been merged with the Fade. And maybe it's one way to cut down on draw distances is to have the backgrounds just be floating rocks and, floating aether clouds. But man, I don't like the look of it. Like this art style, I don't like how it's been progressing since Origins. Really, like there's less sharp angles and features here before. Like everyone looks a bit puffier and a bit smoother than they did at Inquisition, but I wouldn't say it looks better, even though I'm sure there's more pixels to it. Even the cover art is just this sort of shiny purple glurge.
Yeah, it's everyone kind of just crammed into the shape of a dragon vaguely. It's
I didn't even see a dragon there. Again, the magic eye of it didn't register for me because that it's on the menu screens too. It's just this sort of just purple blar.
This game was kind of let go at some point. is the general impression, and they were just like, figure it out kind of deal. They changed the type of game this was many times over. It was supposed to be a subscription-based kind of thing, online server, multiplayer, the entire game changed out from under them while they were making it. Basically, the long and the short, there's a lot more to it, and a lot more shitty things that were done to the studio. It was a massive struggle to get this out, essentially, and that's why it took 10 years. It's why it kind of seems to be serving so many different masters that it is serving no one at all in a lot of ways. I kind of enjoy this game. I'm kind of liking VEILGUARD so far. I'm not finished it. Neither of us have. I'm halfway through. You're a little less than that, but
I assume I'm a lot less than that. I don't really have a sense of it.
Every
other game we played
in
this series is a game that we had both played before in its entirety. Well, except for Jade Empire, I'd never played before we started this game.
Well, okay.
But
for some reason, we did that all in one episode.
Yes.
Seems crazy now.
That's because nobody cares about that one.
Sure.
People do care about this. It was kind of a big game. And look, there might be, reasons why this game is the way it is and reasons to sympathize with the people who made it. But I was still going to judge it on the basis of it being a story-based role-playing game because that's what Bioware was known for. That's what we were analyzing these as. And I think this one, at least in the opening especially, I was struck by how it seems to have Bioware's current incarnation seems to have forgotten all the basic lessons of how to open and structure one of these games. That they created the template and now have abandoned some of the basics of that.
Yes, the writing is an issue here for a lot of reasons. Now, again, we can make a point of why this all happened, but we don't actually know. We don't actually know the creative process. We don't know what was a workaround, what was a solution, what was always the plan. We don't know exactly how this was composed or created. The main thing is that the world building is a lot less front and center than it has been, and it is mostly kind of resting on what's already been established, I would say. I mean, there's new environments. There's places we've always talked about, never actually seen, that we now get to go to. Minrathous in the Tevinter Imperium. We get to go to the coasts of Ravane. We get to go to, I don't know, what are some places?
Treviso and Antiva.
Wetlands. Treviso, yeah, there's places that have been talked about for 3 games now, finally rendered. And that's kind of cool.
But this is part of the sci-fi I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I'm aggravated so far that I'm going to these places I've heard of before, and I still don't feel like I have a sense of place for any of them. And I don't even know. I have now my characters run around Minrathous and Treviso. I could not place them on a world map of Thedas. This
world map sucks, man.
I have spent hundreds of hours in, and I have spent dozens of hours discussing with you in depth, trying to even map out how you would adapt it to TV and everything. And that I could draw you a map of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros from memory and include, the Riverlands, which is an unofficial 8th, and everything. Those opening credits went so far, but because we use teleporting magic mirrors to warp around stages here, I don't ever get to see the world map or have the sense that I'm traveling the world and thus living in this world. That something as simple as a loading screen that had a map with little blood dots traversing the route my party was walking gave me that sense in a way. And I'm I guess we've gotten to a point where we don't have as much need for load screens to be on screen as much as long. So you don't get world building in that indirect way. But I need a world map here. I don't know where I've been still in this game. I've been to 6 different places.
There is, if you compare this with Inquisition, one of the things that Inquisition got damn right was the war table stuff, which is, you are looking at a map and you see where you are and where this thing is. And you see, the Western approach. Well, how about that? It's in the West. Simple stuff like that. You can see where you are.
But I knew where the hissing wastes were in relation to the Emerald Graves.
Right.
Because it was always in my face.
And that was very useful. The fact that you're going through mirrors instantly, the magic of the mirrors has been devalued, I suppose, in this, but I don't care about that really. But the main thing is Yes. You're traveling through a sort of a liminal space, which is the Fade, the crossroads, as is implied here, which is a place that doesn't really exist or something. It's a dream realm or something, some version of the Fade, which again, somehow the more we learn about the Fade, the less I understand it, I think. But maybe the biggest disaster of all is the fucking map that they give you is just awful. Like, it makes no sense. It's basically reduced to like, here's a spot, a little blue gem. You can click on that and go there. Not really any sense of where they are in relation to everything else. Your sort of liminal space has been like plunked right in the middle, but that doesn't actually exist in space, so that it just screws up your perspective. And I have no idea where these places are unless I reach back to my memory from the older maps. That is a problem and a half, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that the war table map made it so clear that our base of operations is smack dab in the middle of these two countries, and we are going to these locations from there. Again, we're living in this world. In this, we are explicitly not. The lighthouse, like you said, is a space between worlds that is connected to everything through this mirror of teleporting, network of teleporting mirrors. Again, one of the reasons I guess why it gives me sci-fi vibes is because it is the same setup as the far future Hegemony of Man and the Hyperion sci-fi series by Dan Simmons, where they have these network of alluvians, basically, connecting that intergalactic empire. And then, when you get to the boards here,
Hyperion,
everyone I've been to so far has been an alternate dimension or an underwater prison where like everything is being held up and logged off by force fields.
The world expands a little. I mean, what we're talking about is basically 7 or 8 main boards that have, new parts open up as you get new powers. There's a lot of verticality to them. They remind me a little of the maps in Inquisition, except they're a lot more compact. They're a lot smaller, thank God. And, you can kind of, there's these boards to explore. There's, 7 or 8 of them, one for each character, and then a few other smaller little ones, basically, or one for each faction, I guess, which the characters are part of. And then you have some specific story missions, that get new boards, like that underwater prison, for example.
But that was the Lucanus's character board, I suppose.
No. His character board is Treviso, the Antivan Crows board, which is sort of a Florence or Italian city of sorts.
No, and Antiva is supposed to be Spain.
It is, but it looks
from Origins. Now it's tilted more Italy, which I thought was supposed to be like. We'll see. I don't understand they have to stick to that strictly, but it was part of Dragon Age Origins world building, and what made it feel like a tactile, lived-in setting was that I could map onto, okay, this is the French country, this is the Spanish country, this is Ferelden is England. And it gave me a baseline for sort of understanding things. And going to the Tevinter Imperium was always going to stretch that to a degree because it's the magic one run by entirely by wizards. But like I said, there's going to be a confluence of a lot of decisions here that have contributed to making this feel like a less lived in reality. I want to go touch grass in a Dragon Age sense here. And the lighthouse setting and the Arlathon forest do not give me this sense. I thought going into this that Arlathon was a mythical, like lost Atlantis place, not like actually a still like it's not like Sherwood Forest that you can still drive to today.
I mean, it's still a mythical forest. It's it's not Avalon.
People live there,
but, yeah, right. But they're elf people. They're what do they call them? Veil jumpers. They're magic elf folk who have magic abilities, and their way is not known to us per se. There's confusing parts about it, unless of course you are a veil jumper in your character origin. Another game where they could have started with a goddamn origin story.
This is what infuriates me. It makes you pick an origin with one of these groups that we've never encountered before, and then does not give me an origin explaining my relationship to those groups. So the
boards are made. The boards are made. You could just put new adventures in the things you've already created.
They're referencing Betsy Adventures, this job I did for the Shadow Dragons, where I pissed off the whole city or something. I'm like, well, that would have been a good cold open. Like this is not even a James Bond thing. That's
You can have Varric do the Duncan thing, actually. It's kind of exactly what happens. Just have Varric show up in each of these places. It is a reference to the original Origins that everyone will be like, oh, cool. They're doing the Origins thing again. But with Varric, wow, that would have been great.
Would have been. Yeah. This opening segment it's in media res in a bad way. Is how
it really is. The opening is a worst foot forward kind of situation. I would have to agree.
So it opens with my character winning a bar fight without breaking a sweat. So I'm like immediately a badass before I have pressed a button. And also I've chosen this background with one group I have never heard of before this game. But that group is apparently working with Varric's group, which is apparently Varric's little group is not the Inquisition, but it seems like it is more or less doing the same thing as the Inquisition was doing when I left them with Varric. And apparently I'm the second command in this group, maybe, which means I should know about as much as anyone about what they're doing, but I don't as a player. And I don't like even the VEILGUARD sounds like an alternate title for what the Inquisition was up to. Except the Inquisition was a more provocative and interesting name for it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the VEILGUARD, apparently that name was added very late in production after the game was basically done. The original name was just Dreadwolf. It was called Dragon Age the Dreadwolf for the whole game. And they just changed it at the last minute. God knows why. But as a result, they don't talk about the VEILGUARD at all in the game. It's not a name. They don't use it. They're not. I think that it appears in text, or maybe in the back chunk of the game. You find out. I don't know. I again haven't finished the game yet, but yeah, I haven't heard the phrase VEILGUARD yet.
I played like 8 hours of this game. Are you telling me I am not the VEILGUARD?
You might be. I'm not sure.
God damn it.
It's a loose association of friends, really. They don't really have a team put together.
We're thrown into Minrathous and the Tevinter Imperium with no introduction. And I said it's got this floating palace with spotlights and megaphones. It feels as close to the island from The Prisoner as it does to Denerim from Origins. That's what I'm talking about, the sci-fi feeling right off the bat.
Lies of Loch Lamora was the reference point I had, which is a sort of a fantasy series. Yeah, if you're a fantasy book dork, you might be familiar with them. I am less so than I used to be, but that's a good one. Anyway, they have tall crystal towers that do magic shit in their cities. It's I think they read the books.
Right. So, but they present, I don't know. It presents to me like it felt like I was walking out into a scene from Andor closer than a scene from Dragon Age Origins with the, armored troops and the spotlight from above and the booming megaphone voice telling them to, oppressing them. But regardless,
it's magical oppression though. I think that's kind of fun, right?
It is magical, but here's the problem. As soon as you step out that door, this new environment that I'm unfamiliar with is now in the process of merging with an alternate hell dimension. So I don't even know what's like normal for that unfamiliar fantasy environment, quote unquote, versus what is the end of the world messing with normal stuff. And from there we go right into the Fade, where there's a storm raging and rocks floating everywhere, of course, an end of the world ritual going on. So I just have no sense of geography or physics. Like, I resolve this ritual thing and stop it by knocking statues down onto things, but I have no idea. Why does my guy think that knocking statues down would do anything? Why would they not just float away like all the other floating rocks?
This is what I'm saying, worst foot forward. Yes, it is. They're trying to start with a big action-packed opening.
Not a bad instinct.
it's kind of just chaos. It's kind of just like I don't have my foot on yet. Like I remember Inquisition starts with some quiet stuff where you're just walking around the environment, getting your bearings, trying to figure out how the controls work, who these character is. It's slow stuff at first, I mean, there's some cutscenes that are exciting at first. You're seeing the Pope explode, things like that. But for the most part, it's a bit of an ease in. And this one,
Origins does the most. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give Origins too much credit for inventing the idea that other role-playing games had introduced you to a setting kind of gradually.
Right. But I mean, this is another reason why they should have just done goddamn Origins in this game.
Exactly.
Then you can have the action beat.
They designed the Origins. They made me choose between.
I wonder if there's just trouble with I don't know, all the different modifiers, all the different racial, gender, background things. No, that's no excuse. That's BioWare's bread and butter. They should absolutely have done this. It's stupid that they haven't. Yeah.
They earn it all out by making you choose a faction. Okay, fine. Your faction defines your origin. That's sort of in the Origins too. If you choose the wizard class,
right,
that's your faction.
It's that simple. There are 6 boards, 1 for each group. So yes, it makes sense. You want to be a Veil Jumper, you're in Arlathan Forest. Want to be in the Morn Watch, you go to the Necropolis. Yeah, that's cool. You're gonna like the Necropolis, but it's weird that that's not a thing.
Just the basics of it applies. Not just to my faction thing, but also my relationship to these characters that you can, to some extent, introduce me as a blank slate role-playing protagonist with a pre-existing relationship to some characters. In Mass Effect, I have a pre-existing relationship to Anderson.
Right.
And a little bit with Caden, but not really. You hardly know Caden. You have getting to know him, you conversations with him when you talk to him. But mostly everybody else, you're meeting along with the player is meeting them along with the character, because the player and the character identification should be as aligned as possible. And this is so weird that I have existing, not too deep relationships with a bunch of characters that I, as a player, have relationships with from previous games that are distinct from my current player character. And that is, it's weird and baffling. And it was an issue for Mass Effect. It wasn't really an issue for switching protagonists between Origins to 2 to Inquisition, and now it's consternating me.
Yeah, again, I'm not a fan of a lot of the dialogue in this game, and I think that hurts a lot. I think with this stuff, I think if the dialogue was written with a little more, intelligence and stuff, I think that much of this could be avoided. Not as handily as if you had just included origin stories to play out, but yeah, I have a real issue with the way people talk in this game.
Yeah. Okay. Can I drill down to a hyper-specific example of that?
Yes.
Okay. I had a boss fight in the Arlathan Forest with some ogre, and afterwards, Balara, the elf, says, "Oh, I really didn't expect to fight an ogre today. Then again, I didn't expect to find out my gods are rampaging around and trying to end the world. Just one of those days."
Every goddamn line is like that. Yes.
Yeah. People complain about the Marvel style of never taking things seriously, and that always undercuts the stakes with a joke.
Yeah.
And that one line struck me as, this is the worst version of that because it has no joke to that writing. There's no specific character underpinning it to a personality that doesn't take this stuff too seriously or whatever. It's just undercutting the situation with a flippant tone attached to, I guess, a basic recap of the plot in case I didn't understand that there were bad guys in this game. But undercutting with a joke is one thing. Undercutting with something that has the cadence of a joke, but nothing humorous to it, no turn, is just I don't know. I maybe want to get out a red pen and start annotating this script.
The MCU stupid joke kind of deflation thing, I think is I don't think it even reaches the level of that, I think we're talking more this is Batman and Robin dialogue, if you want to use a superhero movie.
That's big and campy. It's so the example of the people throw at the Marvel stuff of the non-joke is that happened, because that's an observation without a joke or a humor to it. That's not what the Marvel movies actually do, I don't think. I think
no, it
especially
isn't.
in the earlier going. they get away with that because they have lots of characters with really distinct comic voices, and it's not for everybody. Sure, maybe they overdo the bathos sometimes, but an Iron Man joke is different from a Star-Lord joke is different from a Star-Lord joke, and a Ant-Man joke can be kind of closer, I guess. But
not really though. Not exactly.
A Thor joke's very different than any of those.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. But there's just this. There's a stupidity to the dialogue in this, and everyone has that sort of flippant tone. Every single character is kind of just like, oh, let me say something wry that's not actually a joke. What do you think of that? And that really
nothing of that. That's what happens.
Not every character does this, I guess, but certainly the first ones you encounter all do this. Certainly Nev and Harding and Ballara are doing this, and certainly the player character does this. Even when you don't
it's my voice. That's annoying too.
I mostly just end up being kind of a gruff person because I don't want him to make a joke. Sort of.
You don't want to add to the sea of wry nothingness.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the main plot of the game is kind of paired with this, and this just that it is plain simplicity. It is just like, Elgernon and Gildanane make a pretty dangerous pair. What are we going to do about it? I don't know. It's, and this is why I say Batman and Robin. It's just so fucking dumb. I mean, this is like really, really, it's not aiming high when it comes to the dialogue. I mean, I think there's a way to make this kind of boring plot work, but it feels like Saturday morning cartoon stuff here. This gets better as it goes on. I promise. This improves.
This was so not an issue in Mass Effect or Dragon Age 2 even. Like probably Problems Dragon 2 as a game, those every one of my companion characters had really distinct personalities and perspectives. And that was still mostly true in Inquisition. I guess maybe maybe we'll revisit Andromeda at some point, but probably it's less true there than it was the original Mass Effect.
I think this is going on in Andromeda. And I think that the dialogue in Inquisition is headed this way.
Yeah, I think it's just it's got to fill out so much more. It's got to spread a lot of dialogue over so much more space, but not more plot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Than Dragon Age 2.
But I mean, one of the main complaints about this game, aside from how woke it was when it came out, was that a lot of the a lot of the characters just. They didn't. You can't be evil, I guess, is the way to break it down simply. You cannot do negative choices in this game. You cannot be an asshole to people. You cannot break friendships with people unless it's very specific plot moments where you make one choice that will have that effect. It's very hard to be a bad person in VEILGUARD, and all you can really do is kind of be a little gruff. I mean, you can make evil choices at a signature moments, or so I'm told. Haven't got to all those parts, but for the most part, you can't.
That would be so weird for the wry, bland guy to suddenly be as evil as Darth Revan on the dark side path or whatever. You're like,
it's not set up to do that, and that's a disappointment to people. Even though I never really liked playing the evil guy, in these playthroughs. But there's a dimensionality to the characters that I think is missing, and that's the real problem. There's everyone kind of feels the same.
That's also another example of BioWare losing the thread on what they were good, like what they invented or did better than anybody. Because and I've been a defender on the grounds that you don't need to allow Shepard to be an utter maniac who just is going to shoot Karth or Caden in the back at the first opportunity. It's okay to not have him be a raving lunatic and restrain the decision making somewhat there to things that would kind of make sense in context. But for Mass Effect, for Dragon Age Origins, had a very sprawling story with a lot of different room for evil choices or gradations towards evil in a way that did not derail the story.
Well, even Mass Effect, you could be an asshole. You could be, nasty. You could do choices that were selfish or weird or destructive. And you can't really do that here. And again, I don't necessarily miss this. If the game is succeeding in other ways, I kind of don't mind. And in a way, that's true of VEILGUARD. Like I said, I'm still having fun here. But it is very disappointing as a Bioware game. As an action RPG, I'm more into it. But as for all the things that we are ostensibly doing this series for, and have been playing all these Bioware games for, this is a pretty big failure in that regard.
Okay, so after we go into the Fade and disrupt Solus's ritual to tear down the veil, and I'm forgetting exactly what he was intending that to do.
It's not clear. They are withholding that. It sounds like it's something different than what he said he was going to do at the end of Inquisition. Basically, it sounds less evil than it was, I guess.
But he was going to take down the veil, and so accidentally it releases these other two old elven gods, who are technically ancient mages that are just so powerful that they are called gods, and they've been infected with the blight, a la the Darkspawn. So they come out, and they're now going to be our actual villains of this game. Okay, we'll get to that in a moment. You know, it flows, I guess, from the sameness of the character personalities. We're just bitching about the sameness of the environments, because we go from Minrathous, where it's got a floating city there and everything's flying out of holes in the sky and all that, to the Fade, where we have floating rocks everywhere, to now we're in a dream sequence with Solus, which is in a sepia-toned sort of version of the Fade, where we're standing on floating rocks everywhere. And then we go to Lighthouse, which is the limbo space that is floating in a cloud of nothingness and as floating rocks everywhere. And then we're in Arlathan Forest, where there's also floating ruins and caves everywhere. And 6 hours in, my guy is looking at this ruins of this palace and says that Balar is telling me about this palace. And I say, I'm guessing it didn't used to float before the big battle you're describing. I'm like, why would I guess that? Literally everywhere I've been in this game has giant boulders and structures floating around randomly. Like,
yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna try not to complain about floating rocks.
No, it's funny. Go ahead.
As I guess we're into action now, and I have not figured out the action in this game. It doesn't do much. Like in Inquisition, I had some issues with not always being able to tell if I was actually making contact with the enemy or just flailing my knives right next to their hitboxes. It's even more unclear to me here. I also have a harder time telling immediately when I am and am not taking damage.
I have to admit, the combat in this game is what I like. That's what I'm having a lot of fun with. I think it's a lot of fun. It might be my favorite Dragon Age combat, actually. It is fully action combat at this point. You know, there's no. I don't think you can do the set up a grid thing like you've been able to do in the previous games. I think it is all just twitch, and you know. I've always been a proponent of things changing. You can kind of pause. You can pull up your heads down menu and assign spells or abilities to targets. But that's the extent of it. You no longer control your companions directly. They can't die. They're kind of just floating around. Then get knocked down.
I wasn't even clear on that.
Yeah.
So I have just I've just been doing normal difficulty as opposed to I usually play on the harder difficulties because I was not being engaged by the combat. And I couldn't tell if my companions literally couldn't die or just hadn't died because I had the difficulty down.
They literally cannot die.
It's kind of lame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I was very opposed to this when I first heard it, but I actually end up using them more than I do in other games now because my interactions with them are limited to certain things. There's a really good detonation, like primer detonation system with the spells. Like some spells set up an enemy, you know, they put a state on an enemy, and then a different spell has a detonation power that makes that thing, you know, explode or effect, you know, that something will happen. And those vary between the different schools of magic or ability. I mean, I'm a mage. I think mage is the best fight system from what I've heard online. But
I played like 3 hours as a warrior and then restarted as a rogue to try something different. It's a little better, but now I'm starting to think that maybe mage was the way to go, but I'm not going to restart again. It's definitely not so we can both play the same thing.
It's really it has a couple different ways of attacking. You can you have a wand, and you also have like a sort of a knife and an ornament thing that that just different ways of attacking. One is range, one is close up, and then there's the skill tree, and you can kind of go like fire magic, electronic magic, necrotic magic. There's all the different things. You have the ability to change everything on the fly at no cost, so you can experiment with everything. I had a really committed cold mage for a while. I got tired of it and switched over to electricity. I think I like that more. Might try necrotic a little bit later. It's fun to keep messing things up, and you can basically experience all the ways to play a mage in one playthrough and don't have to commit to one thing.
That is like completely reality breaking in a way that's probably just like fine, better for gameplay.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't get the pride of being like, well, I'm a what was I in the last one? A Tempest rogue, and that's my personality and identity. That's not a thing anymore. It is reality breaking.
I'm kind of grasping for any personality identity. I mean, I don't know. I also maybe I'm talking about both sides of my mouth.
You're a flippant rye guy. What are you, by the way? What's your
was fine when I chose for my shepherd to be that way, but here it just seems like no matter what I do, that's sort of where I end up. And also, I'm not bouncing off of anybody that's different than that.
Right, they're all the exact.
It's like, oh yeah, I see what you did there.
There is one excellent character that shows up. I don't think you've got to him yet.
We'll approach it. We'll go as we go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
What is your background? Who are you playing here?
I am a rogue. I am a shadow dragon from Minrathous, which apparently means that I freed a bunch of slaves at some point before the game. Sounds cooler than anything I've done in this game so far. But that's the extent of my background. I feel like it's been brought up 5 or 6 times, and I have not been able to glean any more information about it or about myself. I don't know.
What race are you? Are you a man or woman?
I'm just a human man. I was restarting it for a second time, knowing that I was bumping off this game quite a bit. I was like, I'm not going to like throw any more role-playing hoops in front of me and like be trying to do anything specific. I'm just going to try and do it as most naturally as possible. And hopefully that will be the smoothest route for me to get into this game properly. We'll see.
I'm a lady Canary.
Okay.
With a big, like, long red hair, and she's a magician, one of the Lords of Fortune, and
you got a big, nice rack on you.
Huge,
And be a rack of antlers, obviously.
Oh yeah. Well, that too. There's one of my horns fell off and has been replaced by a jade carving. It's really cool. Right. She looks great. As I played the game, I found out that one of the characters that joins your team is almost exactly like my character, background and visually, much in the way that I had a dwarven archer in Inquisition.
that is a risk you run the first time through a Bioware game, is running into this like Suicide Squad scenario where like Deadshot is introduced to Peacemaker, and you're like, oh fuck, you're doing my thing. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, we're both the same kind of wry, flippant ass person, so it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe we're hitting it off a little better because we're so similar. I guess. Tosh, you'll meet her eventually, or them. Excuse me. Tosh is non-binary.
I still haven't played a Cunari in these games. I think part of it's because, like, well, first time you could do that was an Inquisition, and then like, I was like, well, but if I'm playing like the way I usually play, I'm going to be a little too close to Iron Bull in his setup. And thing like part of making him, he was a wry cool guy, and on top of 5 other things he was. But I feel like he was kind of like stepping on my lane a bit, and he was a leader of his own group. And I'm like, well, if you're a Cunari leader who's kind of like has a wry sense of humor, where does that leave me to be as the Cunari leader? I could be the Cunari asshole, I guess, but like we talked about.
You can't.
60 hours of that of being an asshole is hard to pull off, even when the game allows for it.
Yeah, I guess even Inquisition, they were kind of moving away from you can be an asshole. I don't think you could do.
Well, speaking of Inquisition,
yeah,
the coolest thing that Inquisition set up going into this was Solus as the villain.
Yeah, not anymore.
The big bad that is a former party member, like that's something we've never gotten before from any of these types of games. I suppose Dragon Age 2 kind of like turned Anders into the villain to a degree at the end, but not the way
Not
this
really.
is set up.
Yeah.
But VEILGUARD immediately opening says, forget that. Here's some new monsters that you'll actually be fighting. They
suck. They suck. They just suck, man. They're not interesting. There's no dimension to them other than we're evil god guys. We got octopus tentacles. The power. It sucks.
It's like they viewed the fact that Solus had more dimension was doing the same thing, like as a detriment. Like so, I start this game trying to stop a demigod from unleashing demons to destroy the world, which is what Dragon Age Inquisition was all about too.
A lot of fucking games are about that. Yes.
Yeah. But this game quickly pivots from that to trying to stop two other legally distinct demigods from releasing demons to destroy the world. It seems like such a lateral move.
Yeah.
But also, I guess that the new ones are going to do it by covering the world with blight. So that's kind of rehashing the Origins conflict. At the same time, it's rehashing the Inquisition conflict.
Yep.
And the discarded Solus conflict here.
Yep.
I'm just like, what? I don't understand these decisions.
Well, I think this does come from the fact that the game was set up as sort of a live service thing with multiplayer. Like it was supposed to be just sort of an endless battlefield at one point, that you could, what do they call them? I don't know, loot shooters, I guess.
Shooter stuff.
Yeah, one of those things. Essentially was the idea at one point, and I think the game was set up
that doesn't allow for, I guess, a lot of different characters to have different relationships to Solus.
It is in a direct contrast to everything that's made Bioware interesting and good in the past, is what it is.
There you go.
And I mean, I guess there's a way that could work. You could bring some Bioware elements to the looter shooter, and that might be interesting, maybe in a perfect world if they did it right. But it didn't happen here, and kind of never does when they try shit like this. This is the story of what was that other one they tried, the mech suit
Destiny?
thing. Yeah,
Anthem.
No, Anthem. I mean, Destiny, I guess, is a successful version of that.
Right, yes. Anthem was clear of a Destiny knockoff.
It was like a Bioware attempt at Destiny, and everyone hated it, and it's dead now. Yes. I don't think you can play it anymore. And yeah, that's another one I gave a miss to as well. So, and because it's no longer available, we're saved from having to ever do an episode on it for this podcast. That is apparently the genesis of VEILGUARD initially. Seems like a horrible idea based on the franchise up to this date. And I think they realized that at some point midway through and tried to change it back into what it was. Now, I'm told the back half of the game gets into more of a Mass Effect 2 kind of place, so, and I can tell it is improving as it goes. Like, I'm getting deep into side quests now in my playthrough. And I'm enjoying it more than I was at the very beginning. Ultimately, though, I think it's going to be a problem for you if you don't like the combat. I think that's going to be a big deal.
I mean, maybe just turn it all the way down to easy and just walk through it all. But there's probably going to be a lot of it.
Keep it on regular.
I usually like a challenge in some of these earlier games. But Origins especially.
This is just plainly an action game, I think is the way to think of it, which is not what this franchise has ever really been. It's always sort of been heading in that direction. It's just fully now. There's none of the old style RPG tactic stuff at all to it.
I'm not purely like a turn-based purist where I'm like, oh, anything that is that has a Twitch element to it is bad. Because I think it has been part of the Bioware thing too, since Jade Empire. That was certainly experimenting with an action-based thing rather than a turn-based thing.
Mass Effect was always defined as a running shooter and cover game, Yeah,
that's what's aggravating to me about this is that the way the companions are used too in the combat here is very similar to the way Mass Effect did things, where you can pull up, you can pause to pull up a wheel to issue them orders, but they're mostly operating on their own. And I mean, I suppose Mass Effect was more, it's a shooter, and this is a little more melee based, depending on what kind of weapon set you're using. But it feels like they had this problem licked 10 years ago. Like with Mass Effect 3, it's really smooth and fun. At least for the first 40 or 50 hours, which is all I'm asking for. And it feels like you can just kind of port that over and it should be fine. But there's much, much, much more involved skill trees here, I suppose, than Mass Effect sort of distilled that down to some pretty basic skill trees.
I think that it's literally the fantasy setting. I think it's literally the fantasy setting obligates them to make this more RPG-ish than Mass Effect was. That you got to have character builds and stuff like that in a real and profound way. I mean, I've been enjoying what I can do with the mage. You know, I would. If I were to replay this game, I would never consider doing a different kind of mage because there's no need, you know, like I'm just experiencing it all in the one time, you know. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a particularly replayable game, but, you know, after Inquisition, I wonder if any of them ever were kind of.
One of the reasons I didn't want to be a mage in this is kind of ties back to what I was saying earlier about the, the peacemaker of it all, is that two of the first three characters you collect are female mages.
Yep.
So
when you add in your player character, it's very like it's a lot of the same voice. You know, it's Varric and his girls.
Right.
For several hours.
Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Especially as he's laid up in his office.
Oh yeah, you guys got. I got to recuperate up here. He should have died, by the way. I like Varric, but he should have just died. You know.
I mean, we kind of got out of the opening, but
you know, maybe he does something important in the back half. I don't know, but I kind of don't think so.
It seems weird that they felt the need to like have Varric be here to like bless my player character. I guess using like our existing affection for Varric to be like, this guy's cool. I chose him. Don't worry. Like reassure me that I am cool. Like, I don't think we need to have my player character like bona fides vouched for by somebody else. I'm me. That's fine. Like,
it is very silly. It's kind of just like, wow, I've never seen anyone fly the Millennium Falcon that good. It's a little of that.
Yeah, I'm the one who's always floated in this whole series, like in one way or another. It's you to say that I fly. If I was Han Solo in the last game, to then say that I fly the Millennium Falcon better than Han Solo is building me up by tearing me down. Like it doesn't. It's at best a wash. Who cares? So we get Nev, who's the first female mage detective, I guess they call her. Another thing is feels like more of a Blade Runner setting than a high fantasy setting to have somebody whose occupation is detective.
I think that's all cool though. I like all that actually.
Yeah,
make Minrat
a deal
a little bit fantasy Blade Runner-y. That's good.
Yeah, not necessarily a bad decision. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm annoyed that I didn't get to get any bearings in Minrathis. And then we have Harding, the scout from Inquisition, who was, kind of upgraded to a player character, kind of the way like Cullen was a background character that was upgraded to a more major role over time. Mm-hmm. And then on our first mission to the Arlathon Forest, we meet Balara, the Veil Jumper. She's an elf. Again, it's weird if you're saying that this supposedly gets better and more polished in the back end than the front end, because we've talked about how in game design, the best foot forward principle is you want the opening levels to be the most polished because that's what everybody's going to play. Mm-hmm. And the Balara one, I was just sighing that like it's dropped into my quest log the moment I'm warped through the teleporter to this new area, and I would take 8 or 10 steps in, I fight one enemy and and she's there. There's no exploration aspect. And then I take another couple steps with her and like we're introduced to new characters. And it's just, I don't know. Like, yeah, people complain about the hinterlands being too big and having too much stuff to do. But here it felt a little too just like, da, 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 da. Here's your plot point. It doesn't help that that's introducing samey characters.
Yeah, that's not a great thing. I don't like the design much on Balara, and kind of an unusual thing for Bioware. I really don't like the voice acting.
None of them are standing out.
No. Let's see. I mean,
Varric's the same Varric he's been.
Varric's the same Varric. Nev's all right. I got no issue with Nev. But yeah, Harding and Balara.
But she's not as distinctive as Morrigan or Leliana were.
No, and it's in that mold. Clearly, they're trying to make her the Morgan of this one to an extent. Although I don't know. Well, that's not quite fair. Morgan is too goddamn interesting. Like there's no attempt to do any sort of shades of gray with her in that way. So that's not fair. And Morgan is in the game, yeah, after a fashion. So
yeah, we met her in the Othon Forest. I'm now thinking I did encounter her. I don't remember anything she told me other than like, those blighted gods sure are bad. You don't know how bad they are. Like, I know. Yeah, that's all we've talked about so far.
That's it. That's it. It's stupid. That's 100% true. Let's see. Who else have you got since then? These are all misses, I'm afraid, except for Nev, who I'm okay with.
After that, I went back to the lighthouse to talk to Varric again, who tells me that I have to officially take over the team, which it felt like I'd already done. Also, this team is 3 people,
right.
2 of whom we just met apparently. So I guess the team, it started out as me and him and Harding.
Yeah.
Okay. It's so weird. Why not have me introduce me to Tim and Harding during play? So he's even during this conversation, he's gassing me up as this great hero, and I'm like, you're the guy who comes up with wild schemes to save the day. I don't know. I'm level 2. This is a role playing game. I feel like I should have been playing through these action beats that defined my character. Because that is what the origin system did. And again, you created it. I don't know why you're abandoning it, but anyway. So after that, we're off to the crossroads, which is another liminal space.
Yeah.
They do a big, I step through another teleporter and I step out to this majestic reveal of this amazing terrain, which is a bunch of floating boulders. But they do, a big John Williams music score to cue that I guess my character is awed by this. I don't know, man. It's every single place I've been to looks exactly like this. It's cool. This has a floating like magic ferry boat that flies in between islands. I like
kind of God of War thing. Yeah, that looks neat. Yeah. Have you played the God of War games by any chance? No. Okay, they're actually similar.
Like there might be one too many floating boulders in it.
Oh, there's quite a few. But the way this game is structured is very similar to those, I would say, which is that you have, a number of environments that you kind of keep unlocking access to, and then the environments have certain parts in them that you can't access until you get a power up of some kind, and once you have got that power back, you can find more of the older places. You've got you have a green axe or something now. That means you can get into this other part and get more treasures and such, and become more powerful in that way. It's Zelda essentially. It goes back to that. But
there's always been elements of unlocking different parts of the map in Bioware games and like Final Fantasy games and whatnot. But usually they are more those gates are put behind narrative developments.
It's much more of the entire...
more than in Zelda, where it's collect 3 red keys and now you need 4 blue crystals.
It's much more puzzle elements like in this game than it has been in the past, and it keeps it relatively simple. So I'm not minding it per se, but that's definitely what they're doing, rather than expanding on the lore of Dragon Age, which is kind of what we're all here for.
Well, again, my complaint is that they sideline the lore that I was interested in to introduce a different version of basically the same threat that lore represented, that Solus represented with these other guys. And I don't know. Why are you steering away from the most interesting thing you had going on?
I think they're doing that because they want more people to play the game. I think they're jettisoning the old continuity for the most part. Like you get a couple things from Inquisition get to carry over. Remember how cool it was in those first 3 games? Is that the world state changes, like you left that guy alive, so he's back now. That sort of thing. There's so many little choices that carry over. Mass Effect as well. All of that's gone now. They made a conscious decision not to include any of that, except for I think 2 choices, and you can design your Inquisitor. I don't know if you got to that yet, but he's in the game. Your Inquisitor comes back.
But here's my radical proposal is another way to get more people to play the game is to do the most interesting things available with the game and the story that is there.
Mhm.
Or another way of looking at it, I suppose, is just all that
What?
narrative carryover stuff from game to game. It's difficult, yes, but it's also your brand. It's the thing that you
It's
did
the
that
thing.
got people in the first place. It seems a little bit like I'm trying to fix the game of soccer. Maybe I'm like,
Mhm.
well, we could bring in more people if there just was less kicking.
But Al, wouldn't it be more fun if it were like more like a looter shooter though? If you were just running around collecting items and just kept coming, it was like a gameplay loop, and it was the same every time. Wouldn't that be good?
Maybe marginally more profitable, I guess.
Yeah,
But it's like
this is exactly.
I'm trying
what
not to
everyone
put
was
this in
talking
lofty
about.
artistic terms. I'm talking about like in crass capitalistic terms. Even I think you just have to have some perspective of McDonald's might be a more profitable brand than Taco Bell, but that doesn't mean that Taco Bell should start serving burgers.
No, you're right. This is what everyone was scared about happening when EA bought Bioware. This is like the absolute worst case scenario of EA buying Bioware. This is the thing. It gets flattened into a generic thing, maximized for profit. That's it. That's what was cool about Bioware gone now. It's this different thing that is, it's just sort of meant to remind you of Bioware, but mostly just appeal to the largest group of people possible. And so if that means jettisoning much of the whole thing, then that's the deal. Yeah.
It's just a way that my brain is not aligned with, I guess, current sort of the way that gaming capitalism works. But it seems like EA could have done that by just made more EA games by just making more EA games without buying BioWare. Like,
you got to go watch one of these videos. You're gonna. It's hard on YouTube because it'll be like an explanation of what happened behind the scenes, which is fucked up and silly and so stupid from a business perspective. That's why the game took 10 years to come out. But you also have to contend with like whatever anti-woke sawhorse the individual video creator has to add on to it.
So much of that, yes. I mean, not just whether I'm watching BioWare stuff or Star Wars stuff or anything. I'm like, hey, I don't like to see Star Wars either. But I'm with you for a first couple things of like, yeah, this show was written badly, and like, it's because of the women stuff. No, I don't think that was it at all. Really, I think it's just badly written.
Yeah,
largely because people have started that the industry has kind of been captured by fan culture, and as much as it is trying to cater to feminists, it's also trying to please critical YouTubers who are complaining about the feminist.
Well, I think that's ultimately something where this game lands. I mean, you're going to see that it's gay as hell. Honestly, there's a lot of what people would call woke in this game, but it's also, I mean, more the bigger problem is definitely that it's trying to appeal to everybody and kind of appealing to no one instead. It's looking for the lowest common denominator, just in its makeup top to bottom. And so in a way it is doing what even the shittiest YouTube critic is saying, which is sort of disrespecting the fans. Oh, it is making something that no one wants. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't usually play my characters as gay, but I would welcome if I could do like a swishy queen of a character. So like if I could just differentiate my character that way. Way.
If you make it more like a Dorian kind of, it'd be fantastic. But you can't do shit with this guy's personality. It's really disappointing in that way.
Dorian's got to be back in there at some point.
Dorian's back. Dorian's back in there. Yeah. He's less fun though. He's a lot flatter in this one. So you've met the guy in the Antivan Crow, right?
Yes. So I went to Antiva there. Mm-hmm. That's weird. Like I went to the city of Treviso there, and I have a contact who meets me there and is bringing me to the first Talon of the Crows. And
I think the crow stuff kind of works. Honestly, I kind of like the crow stuff in this.
I like them and their accents. I was just kind of like. We're not hiding our identities or anything, or that we're having this meeting, but we're like going through this. I'm climbing up trellises and like riding zip lines around the city. Can we not just like take a carriage down Main Street? It's what it made me feel like this is an Assassin's Creed level. Or
It's
something.
very Assassin's Creed, yes. But they're all, they're all
Not the
Puss in
worst thing to do
Boots.
with Antiva, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, the guy you pick is really Puss in Boots. He's extremely Puss in Boots.
Yes,
Lucanus. He's fun. I like him. Not a great character, I have to admit, but he's humorous. I enjoy him a lot more than the other ones you've got so far.
So this is basically as far as I got. I got sent to the ossuary, which is a magical undersea prison, which because it's under the sea, the water is held back by force fields.
Yeah.
And that means there's a bunch of shit floating in the background. Same type of rubble floating up in the air, but with a blue filter.
This is a distinctive looking level. This level looks different. This one's
It's got different lighting. I'll give it that. It gets the highest mark so far for being a good fun level. And so far, I've just kind of met him, but I really like. Well, Lucanus has a great character concept. The Spite Demon.
Yeah, he's
is. Cool. I mean, I guess it's sort of iterating on like Anders and Justice.
A bit
by way of the Wildflower like little girl character from Jade Empire. I'm sure that Lucanus's loyalty quest is going to take me to the exact same choice as the Wildflower choice in Jade Empire. But the presentation of the Spite Demon and how he's like this sort of ranting voice that Lucanus can hear, but the rest of us can't. That's novel enough to make it feel like a new thing. This is not a character that I have had in my party 10 times in Bioware games. Although I guess maybe twice if we're putting him in lineage with Anders and Wildflower. Yeah,
but he feels a little more classic Bioware than the rest, I would say. You got 3 more coming. They're all better, I think, than the starting lineup here. And one of them I think is great. One of them is proper classic Bioware. I think you'll know him immediately. You may not like him as much as I do, but you'll know why I'm gravitating towards this guy. And it's like, oh, he's my romance partner for certain. As soon as I saw him, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's not the he's not the HK-47 of the team.
No, he is. I would say.
Oh, okay.
Just in the sense that he's the standout character. He's not. There's
No,
not.
I mean he's the kill everybody.
He's not.
I don't.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's not at all. He's if anything, he's closer to the Mordant Solus. I'm putting too many good words on him here. That's a high standard. He's not reaching that, but I think he's the obvious standout. And it might just be a me thing, but I think you'll know when you see him why I like him a lot.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep powering through this. Like I said, it felt like it's put a bad foot forward for me. And I'm struggling with it the way I haven't struggled with any of the rest of these games. But,
even Inquisition. Oh boy. Okay.
Well, Inquisition, the first half of that game,
was fun, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm on the back half of the game now, so I'm going to keep going, and we'll keep going, and this will, it will finish it when we finish it, essentially. But I hope you enjoy it more, because I've been having more fun with this than I've been having with them in a little while. And maybe it's just the novelty of never having played this. I don't think I'm going to play it a second time at this point, but, I kind of chalk that up to being in my 40s more than anything.
Right.
Yeah.
There's more, yeah.
and my
There's more pressure on a game to be worth your time when you're ignoring your child in the other room.
Just so. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we will be back at some point, Lord knows when, to discuss the middle of Dragon Age: The Veilguard.